Ask yourself, what is the biggest problem with cybersecurity within a business? The answer is simple. It's to do with human factors. It's the fact that we can't convince the staff, the employees within the organization to be vigilant when clicking on links, to buy into this cybersecurity awareness culture. And one of the big reasons why is because we're too focused on our security controls, our technical products, that we don't take the time to adequately invest in our training, to invest in our awareness program, and to invest in the users themselves. So this presentation is how to deliver your message in 5 minutes within the cybersecurity industry. So the first question is, why is it important to have a strong message? And truthfully, in every instance, you want your message to be strong. If you're really trying to convince someone of something, it has to be strong, it has to be memorable, because otherwise, well, you're not going to get across the point of this message, the point of what you're trying to do. So within cybersecurity, or any presentation for that matter, you want to be able to deliver your message to bridge the knowledge gap, to drive some change, and finally to align cybersecurity with business goals. So a strong message doesn't necessarily need to be some crazy kind of analytics or data, but it has to be able to achieve some kind of result. What do you actually want to happen from this presentation, from this meeting? If I think of an example, if I go to speak to a user about some kind of incident that they're involved in, right? I want to bridge the knowledge gap because I want them to understand why this is a danger and how they can prevent it next time and build some kind of rapport with that user. And that kind of links into driving change because the more you do these kind of activities is the more that culture will start to form. And as I said, the main issue within security, at least in my opinion, is the human risk factor. You can have all the security controls in the world, but if you start blocking everything, you're going to be seen as a disabler. So you can't do that. So what you have to do is find some middle ground where users are still able to do their day-to-day activities, but what that's going to open up is the room for error in terms of they might click a link that gets through some kind of email gateway and, posing to be someone, and now, boom, they enter their credentials. So we're trying to mitigate that damage by having this kind of relationship with the user. And the way we can do that is aligning our cybersecurity with business goals to ensure that they're able to achieve their goals, we're able to achieve our goals, and we can move freely from there. So, what makes a presentation boring or hard to engage with? So, firstly, there's too much information, slides being too cluttered, too long, content not being relevant, the presenter not engaging, and a boring message or delivery. So, in terms of actually too much information, I mean, if you're talking about a particular topic, don't start talking about other topics. Be specific. What's your goal out of this presentation, and why do you need it to happen? If you start speaking about generic stuff, chances are they're going to turn off. Slides being too cluttered is kind of an obvious one. No one wants to look at some mixed match of information. Being too long, I mean, people's attention spans, especially these days, is not great. So you have to make sure to keep that on the minimum side. Everyone's busy. And then content not being relevant, I think that kind of links to too much information. Like, if your content is not, I mean, to be honest, if your content is relevant and there's too much information, that's still a problem. But content not being relevant, that has to be one of the worst ones that you can do because, as I said, you only have limited time. So definitely don't do that. And then presenter not engaging. So I guess like actually maybe making some conversation, asking questions, not being boring, because the minute that you're boring, they no longer care. And that picture of cybersecurity is painted in their head as boring tech professionals who are just there to do some IT support or something like that. And then finally, boring message or delivery is kind of self-explanatory. So yeah, CEOs, that's what they say. Same thing we just kind of read. So this is a graph which basically explains audience retention span. In the intro, they have the highest amount of attention because yeah, they kind of want to see what this is about. I mean, you guys who are like on social media actively know about kind of pulling your audience in with a hook, having some kind of story, and then saying some call to action at the end. And to be honest, that's how it works. People don't really care about the middle. You know, I'm speaking to you now, you could have switched off a few seconds ago, a few minutes ago. But chances are, if you're here, maybe you are listening, but you were probably more interested in the beginning than you are now. The reason is for that is because, as I said in the beginning, you don't really have the opportunity to switch off. Like it's just started. Your brain is like, oh, okay, like I need to listen. By the time you get to the middle, yeah, you're thinking, when's this going to finish? And then surprisingly, finally, you actually listen a lot in the end as well. A lot of people don't know the reason for this is because people are thinking, what am I going to eat for dinner? What's next? Like, what do I have after this? So when it comes to like a minute or two left on your presentation, that's when you really, really want to get like the most out of it. You want to make sure you drop in some key points that people can go home with, and that's what they're going to remember from your presentation. So when you actually create this presentation, start with what you want, what's your objective. So for me, I think cybersecurity, you're looking for buy-in. You want people to, give you that benefit of the doubt that, what you're saying is true. There is going to be an incident. It is going to cost the company millions of dollars, and they are going to have to take action. And then audience insights. What do they actually want from your presentation? Like, sometimes you really have to think like audience don't understand the technical concepts, so you actually have to be this kind of person who acts as the bridge between the technical and the non-technical. What do the audience want to know? Well, they just want to know, can I do my work, and is there anything you can actually teach me? The thing is, they probably don't care enough to maybe want to be taught or anything, but they would want to know if they can log on to their account tomorrow. So use that to kind of shift their perspective. Sometimes you have to promote not fear, but you have to promote some criticality, something critical, in order to make people listen. And then, yeah, finally, you can combine those elements and your presentation should be pretty good. So the steps are, what's your desired outcome? What do you want your audience to think, feel, or do after your presentation? Why should they do what you want them to do? And then finally, be clear about the benefit of taking action. So obviously, my desired outcome is to make this change, to make sure we have a security aware culture. I want my audience to feel empowered about security. I want them to go and look at their emails and say, hey, this looks a bit suspicious. I'm going to go and message this guy at the company who's the cybersecurity lead because, he's doing a good talk. And I feel like I can help, I can help the company. And why should they do what we want them to do? Well, it's in their best interest because they want to be able to log on to their account tomorrow. They don't want to be the reason why, the account goes down under. They don't want to be fired, etc., right? And yeah, be clear about the benefit of taking these actions. So in essence, to deliver a great presentation, you just need a strong beginning, middle's just data, whatever, and make sure to have a strong end. So one thing I just want to touch upon is just the storytelling versus data element. I got a little YouTube video on the side, but I'm not going to get into that today. But why is storytelling so powerful within cybersecurity, especially? It really does link to what I've just been saying, but to put it in layman's terms, we are a function which deals with some high risk activity. As in, if we make a mistake, that could be it, right? So why not convince the audience that that's the case? Why not bring this motion into your presentation? A load of people are just going to say, hey, here's the stats. Did you know in 2023, 67% of finance firms clicked on a phishing email? Boom, this led to financial loss. They hear it for sure. They hear it, but where's the story? You need a real story that is going to convince them that if they are doing something wrong, it's going to lead to a problem. However you want to do it, find a way. And I promise, when you do storytelling and you can make individuals feel emotion, the game is completely different. You will start to become that person that they want to speak to make sure that they're not doing anything wrong because they really feel the impact. Yeah, you'll be very surprised with the power of words, how you can convince an entire mindset of people. So, in order to engage the audience, kind of come up with this storyline kind of procedure. So, of course, in a story, you've got character, setting, conflict, and resolution. So, say, for example, you've got your team, organization, say you work in a bank and you've got a technology stack, and conflict would be the cyber attack and maybe business continuity is some kind of conflict. And resolution is the solution, strategies, and outcomes. So, of course, to engage the audience, there's a variety of different techniques. Not going to go through them today. They're kind of like basic presentation ways of doing stuff, but making eye contact, using body language, being passionate, questions, involve the audience. Like, I think people underestimate like how useful these are. And I think a lot of the time, unless it's like some VP or like some really high up person in cybersecurity, you're never going to see this kind of presentation from someone because I mean they're stuck doing internal technical demonstrations, right? We don't have this kind of like, unless it's like a PM, we don't have this kind of people to do this kind of thing. And that's where either you need to hire some awareness specialist, some kind of trainer who helps promote for you, who's good at all of these kind of engagement tactics, or you need to be able to find someone in your team who can do it and has these kind of soft skills which enable you to be confident and enthusiastic, and that can make all the difference. So yeah, finally, I just want to link to some key points. So there's this technique kind of called like the PI technique, links to performance, image, and exposure. The reason why it's so important is because I think so many people focus on the performance of the work that they're doing. You know, it might be directly linked to your goals, and you might only think that like your goals are the only important, but actually recognition is completely more suited to, I suppose, success in general. Because there's going to be people that you see in life who have not done as much work as you, but somehow they're in a bit better place. And I'm not saying that, you know, that's because they they got lucky or didn't get lucky. I mean, it could be a variety of reasons, right? But one thing is image and exposure. If you can build an image for your security team, like a positive image, you will be you will be the guy or the girl. You will be the person within your team. And then if you can expose your your team, the work that you do. So you might do a lot of different work within your security team, have a lot of different things to show off, but when do you ever show that off? Probably never, because I mean it just doesn't make sense to you, right? But imagine you was able to link up with like HR team and say, hey, like we've got this really exciting initiative where, you know, we're getting all these new threat reports in, and yeah, we're essentially like we're going and we're mitigating the damages by doing a bunch of different vulnerability reports, and it's really cool. can we do like a meeting for this? And then HR team obviously probably don't understand anything about it, and maybe you get into a meeting, you give them a presentation, and they're like, wow, like I get it now, it makes sense. What can we do? And you can say to them, hey, look, why don't we like make this initiative where we make like a wiki page, or not even a wiki page. Let's say we make like a blog post on our intranet, and we say, yeah, like everyone, if you know anything about like attack groups, or you hear of like a hack or something, feel free to like submit that to the IT security group, and we'll take a look, and we could feature you in our next blog post. And stuff like that would just be cool to read, cool for people to get involved with. That's basically free way of people like getting involved, and at the same time having some kind of image and exposure. But yeah, that is it does go quite deep, and I feel like obviously I'm not here to try and give you some crazy presentation. I'm just here to try and explain to you that delivering your message in these presentations, whether that's 5 minutes or whether that's to just get across a message, is really, really important, especially in cybersecurity. So if you're able to take anything away from this, definitely take away this PI methodology here, and just make sure that you are being someone who's not just technical, but is also able to explain the technical to the business users, because then you'll actually get use out of what you do. Whereas if you just go stay technical, I mean, you're not going to drive any change within the organization. And if that's not what you want to do, then maybe this video isn't for you. But if you are someone maybe less technical, or someone who is just as technical and looking to drive change in your organization, then this is the type of thing that you need to be doing. So yeah.